Back and bigger than ever, it's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome. It is the unofficial 40 brought to you by MidFirst.com. Go to MidFirst.com/U40. Sign up for that MidFirst OU Rewards credit card. Well, welcome back, everybody. It's been a long day yesterday. So we're coming to you on a Thursday this week. Appreciate y'all being with us. We had Lincoln Riley having a press conference yesterday, kind of talking, just catching up on everything that's happened since the Peach Bowl, really. His first media appearance that he's had since the Sooners have been back in town from their bowl game. So he caught up on recruiting, a little bit of news here and there. He was asked about the suspended players, still indicated that appeals process is going on. But a lot about his hirings, DeMarco Murray and Jamar Cain. So we got plenty to talk about today. Welcome in Eddie Bradosevich.
Hello.
Bob Presbillo is with us as well.
Hello.
And someone is not with us today because he couldn't get in his house. He was there. We specifically
Aaron is dirty laundry. Tiffany kicked him out. That's what happened.
Linda did it. He called ICE on Linda, and Linda retaliated by locking him out of the house. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's just sad. Sad is what it is.
Bob, are you afraid that one day you'll be locked out of your own house, knowing that Josh is taking a similar path?
We don't have a housekeeper yet, though. We gotta get one of those.
Yeah.
Then it can happen.
We all need housekeepers. I obviously need a housekeeper, but I gotta keep you boys living the lifestyle.
I don't think $50 a month is keeping us from.
We are not talking about compensation.
I'm not. I'm just saying that for a housekeeper is like probably $50 to $100. It might take like $2,500 for this house.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you said you're making $50.
No.
month.
I'm making a little bit more north of that.
Anyway, yes, I promise the guys are making a nice living wage. They'll agree to that, I would hope.
My lawyer has said don't comment on that.
So anyway, Lincoln Riley.
So you're stuck with us. That's the point.
I'm fine being stuck with you. It's Josh that's being the
No,
loser
I'm telling
today.
the listeners that they're stuck with us three.
Okay. Yeah, there might be some people who are going to be upset because there won't be the normal amount of recruiting talk.
We might
on this
talk
podcast.
Caleb Williams, but that's really about the only thing that actually happened throughout the course of this week.
So yeah, that was really interesting. But let's start with the spring game. Lincoln Riley, the date has been announced. It's going to be April 18th. It's not going to be Masters weekend, so Eddie is very happy.
It's a win-win. It's a win. It's a win for everybody.
Does that mean you'll be there the entire weekend?
I'm not going.
You're not going this year? No.
Radio station just fired a bunch of people. They're not sending people to Augusta. I think I can say that.
Yeah. No, if you can't, you'll hear about it. So anyway, yeah, the spring game is going to be April 18th.
Unless Riley wants to take me.
April 18th.
I'll ask him.
The possibility is there, guys, for a night game for the Sooners.
Yeah, it is weird that they put the release out, the graphic, and they didn't have a time specified. So you kind of figured something might be going on there, and Lincoln said as much.
There's no way they didn't release any kind of ticket information either, but there's no way it's going to be free. If you're hoping for that, just stop where you stop. Don't even let that foolishness enter your brain.
I thought it went a little under the radar yesterday that when talking about the spring game, that he said something to the effect of, when talking about what time the game was going to be at, it was something to the effect of, we'll have to work around other things that weekend, which makes me think that
Travis Tritt's coming in.
That would be awesome. Unfortunately, he has a concert.
Tritt.
Unfortunately, he has a concert in like Maine that weekend.
I would totally sign off on Travis.
That would be
Tritt.
badass. I would ask off so I could just go to the concert.
We would pirate live stream that bitch on Sooner Scoop. How about that?
That'd be awesome. It would seem like they're gonna debut some statues that weekend. That was my first thought.
Oh, I gotcha.
Is that maybe they're gonna debut the Baker Mayfield statue and the Kyler Murray statue?
Are they working on the Cheesecake Factory sponsorship for that?
I don't know. I was gonna say if they put it up, they might not want to invite Emily because she might try and come and like knock it down or something like Saddam Hussein's statue.
Allegedly.
Oh, I think the whole thing's bullshit, to be honest.
Oh, that girl. I mean, all you have to do is look at her.
Listen, there are whores, and then there is that girl.
Yes.
That is on the north side of a whore.
That girl they won't even accept her job application at Hooters.
She would be a Dallas -5. You hear about like a Dallas 6? She's a Dallas -5.
All she needs is a little bit of meth to go with that look.
She's from one of the Dallas suburbs you've never heard of.
I just don't believe that girl at all.
No, I don't either. And didn't she say that like she has all this
proof
or whatever? Well, let's see it. I don't know. Maybe I have higher. I would lose a little respect for Mayfield if that was true.
Here's the thing, like
he can do a lot better than that.
If you are sending someone a snap and they take a screen grab, it tells you, right? Isn't that the way Snapchat works?
Shoot, old. I don't Snapchat.
I don't know. I do not know about
So, like, if you're trading snaps with a chick under, on the DL, and she's taking screen grabs, you should know that. Like, then you just stop trading snaps with somebody, to me. And maybe that's why she only has one really innocuous snap.
The young people have to save us.
If you have a TikTok account, please call.
I could tell you about the TikTok. I don't know about Snapchat. Not much. I don't really like Snapchat. I'm on it.
Yeah, because you kind of have to be.
Yeah, I just don't really enjoy it.
We've had to be on it ever since Eric Stryker.
Well, I was
like,
gonna
that's
say,
when I think I became a permanent Snapchat
If you
user.
remember, he didn't do anything clearly, but Arthur McGinnis committed on Snap.
Yeah, he
Snapchat.
did, didn't he?
That should have told you everything about that experience.
So anyway, back to the spring game. I also kind of took that as, they have to figure out what their recruiting activities are going to be because they have that. Is it a 48-hour window?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not 72, it's 40. So basically, like, are you going to have a big function like midday Friday, early Friday? Are you going to have something big on Sunday?
Right.
Like, so I took it to kind of be that as well.
For sure. I mean,
if you have a night game, you're not going to be able to do much on Sunday the next day unless it's later on, like at noon on.
And it's clear from when we asked Riley December, they're going to make it a big weekend. It didn't really pan out in terms of 2019 and the official visitors and what turned up for the 2020 class, but that not deterring Riley. You got to imagine he's going to load up once again.
Well, and to me, you're committed to the model, which is the December signing now. I mean, you're just committed. If you're a big boy and you don't have most of your class put away in December, you're screwed. I mean, that's just the way it is now. So having this be a big weekend, to me, it's a must.
It's a must, but the fear, and it's been there for a couple kids where you feel like you got them too early and you never got a chance to go back to them when you really needed to close.
Then again, I mean, that's just going to happen. I mean, like, some of that can't be, like Jace McClellan, there's no matter when he would have committed, you would have gotten screwed over probably.
Probably so. I would think so, right?
I think the one guy people point toward is Dante Manning. Like, if we could have got Manning on campus in November, December, maybe things go differently. But that's just the way it works out.
I kind of think they're leaning towards a night game. I don't know. I don't know what the final decision on that is.
Things aren't working out, by the way, that well for Dante Manning.
Yeah, his coach left.
His decision making.
I just don't feel bad for these guys. I mean, I do in a way because they're kind of getting
like
screwed over. But
Cain's nephew. I mean, like,
you
that's
know
your
that it's
nephew,
coming,
though. So that's like blood. I mean,
Who?
it's like Cain's nephew at Arizona State.
Yeah.
I did not want to ask Cain about that.
So they asked me this morning on radio, like, did you ask him about his pissed off nephew? I was like, no, it's the first time we ever talked to him.
First time I've met him.
So, yeah, but I think the fans would love a night. I mean, everybody loved the night game last year. I mean, it was a logistical nightmare, and they pulled
traffic,
it off, and then we had to fly Eddie back early because he was at the Masters.
And the traffic.
It worked out great, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
It worked out great.
As long as you could get there, because the traffic from Edmond was just insane.
And let's be honest. Spring game, I think the spring game's dying. I think as a whole, spring
It
games are
is.
dying.
Did you see what was proposed yesterday, though?
I would be a 100% fan of it, Carey.
Intra-squad scrimmaging.
I think I would be a fan of it.
I mean, that would be huge. One, because...
Do you think they'd be open?
That's the thing. Like, you can't close that. If you're going to have an inter-squad scrimmage, you can't have... Well, let's only schedule people that'll agree to a closed scrimmage. Bullshit. You're opening that stuff. No, you're going to kill college football. Attendance already sucks across the country. Open that shit up. Let's see OU and Arkansas scrimmage. Well, people don't want to see that right now. Let's see OU and Houston scrimmage.
I think OU Arkansas would be an awesome scrimmage.
Oh, it'd be unbelievable.
Like, I think that would be a great atmosphere. You could turn it into a mini type game day.
Levi Draper's revenge.
He could get like 2 tackles.
He would get a lot of playing time.
Yeah,
when the
I do think it would
and
be
fives
awesome.
come in.
It would be awesome.
Sorry,
I don't know the. In fact, there are no reasons that I could think of that you wouldn't want to do it. So that means that the NCAA won't do it.
Well, and the direction it was always going, because I know we talked to Bob back in the day about this. Like, what if your spring game was actually just a scrimmage? Like, that was always the question.
Yeah,
Like, that would be OU playing Arkansas, would be your spring finale.
I think it would be awesome.
It would be unbelievable.
And
I think the players would care more too.
this can be
hell
a
yeah.
tough year with all the people in the portal and not having half of the 2020 class. And there's going to be guys that get hurt during spring, so they can't play during the game either. I don't know what kind of format they're going to try to use.
Can you imagine people doing home and homes for spring games? I mean, like,
Announcing
OU Alabama has announced a spring game finale for years 2054 and 2055. Home and home.
Now that would be a little much. You just need to let me know like 2 months before. I don't even care who you play. But it would be interesting. It would be even more interesting. And I guess Oklahoma would never probably have to worry about it because somebody would always come to Norman to play. Like, OU wouldn't be going on the road.
Because they pay them. I mean, you'd have to pay people to come in
Sure.
there.
I mean, would UCO be a team that they would want to scrimmage? Do you even get anything out of that?
Get anything out of that? I don't.
Probably
think.
not.
You'd better off just playing your backups. And
I mean,
team.
they got Tulsa on the schedule, so they probably wouldn't do that any. I think it would be kind of hard from a scheduling standpoint because you wouldn't want. You wouldn't want to do it against Kansas or Kansas State. Yeah, right. You wouldn't want to do it against any of the teams around you, and you also wouldn't want to be traveling, basically across.
You could do SMU. I mean, you could do.
Schools wouldn't want to. North Texas would be a perfect
North
example.
Texas.
Everybody would want to get
Houston,
North Texas.
I mean,
it would just be tough for schools that would have to basically travel across the country to go play somebody, and I guess athletic programs probably be able to afford it.
That'd be the thing, though. Like, if you did it with SMU and it wasn't always like SMU would be full of OU fans when they played in Dallas. Like, there'd be more OU fans than SMU fans. So, like, you're just going to give them that gate?
I don't know how that would work.
I don't know.
What would be really cool
We're
is
getting ahead of ourselves because
We really
all they're
are.
Right.
proposing is that teams be able to have inter-squad scrimmages. Kind of like the NFL teams do. Like, if you watch Hard Knocks, like one day the Rams come in to the Raiders and then they scrimmage and there's usually a fight somewhere along the way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that'll be cool.
I think it'd be awesome.
But yeah, I can't imagine Joe C's going to just let him be out there on the rugby field with no one around. I mean, I could see it happening, I guess.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. I mean,
Can you imagine?
I
You
can't
would
see
not
that
be able
happening.
to keep people away. Like, literally, people would just be out there in the Lloyd Noble parking lot with
it'd be a
binoculars
disaster.
just watching.
It'd be a disaster. There's no way.
You
There's no
can't-
way.
You can't invite another football team to Norman and be practicing and not expecting people to flood to where they're practicing.
No, you would have to do something.
It'd have to be in the stadium. So, but, okay, so...
It's fun to talk about, though.
Yeah, spring game stuff, it'll come up. We haven't had a release of practices or open practices or open media practices or anything, or even interview schedules. So that's still to come. They've just released the date. We don't have a date on Pro Day. Lincoln was asked if Jalen Hurts has said, if he'd work out at OU's Pro Day. He didn't really give any kind of an answer on that, which was interesting. or not interested.
That was kind of weird, wasn't it?
What, like you would just thought he would say, "Oh yeah, he's going to do his pro day here."
Yes.
Like, why is he?
Like, there's no secret. You don't have to be secretive about this.
I literally saw the video came in my timeline the other day of Jalen Hurts and Nick Saban at the pro day taking the picture together, and what popped in my head was, "Oh yeah, Jalen Hurts played quarterback at OU." Like,
yeah, unfortunately,
he's going to be kind of an afterthought once the Spencer Rattler train gets going, which it is on the tracks right now.
No doubt about that.
And that's really what the spring game is for most people. Seeing Spencer Rattler, seeing how he, mates with Theo Weiss and Jaden Hazelwood and Trajan Bridges and Stogner.
Yeah.
And, Charleston Rambo, is he going to take that next step?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a lot of, I would say there's a lot of intrigue going into this one, just as a whole, the aspect of the spring, because there is a change in kind of a turnover and a little bit of unknown as far as what they have in a quarterback. I mean, I think everybody has a feeling of how good Spencer Rattler could be, but I guess it's the unpopular thing to talk about. What if he is a bust? What if they go out and they go 8-4 next year?
People don't want to hear that.
I'm just saying. Go up to Army, lose on the road.
Army wasn't very good this year.
No, but I think it was ESPN or somebody had a story this week about how unusual it is for, I guess it's not unusual, but just how unique it's going to be for Spencer Rattler to be making his first career road start on the road at Army. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I thought the other thing,
especially if they lose to Missouri State in the opener.
They're not losing to
Bobby Petrino
on pay-per-view. Boy. Army was a pay-per-view game, too, by the way. It went to overtime. That's disrespectful to the military having that on pay-per-view. That was one of my favorite hot takes.
That was a good
leading
one.
into that week. But there were other things talked about in terms of team stuff yesterday. I thought, just Lincoln's comments about the defense and just nobody really came at him about, so how does it feel to have, a sucky recruiting class compared to like Alabama and Georgia and Clemson?
I did think that there was a little bit of a tone of, how does it feel to be competent at some point on the defensive side of the football recruiting?
Yeah. And he did address the portal stuff. Bob asked him about that. And I would you say he was cheery to finally address that?
A
almost?
little bit. Just saying, some of those younger players are better. Some of those younger players are better.
Well, and he kind of threw a little shade, I thought, like basically saying some of those guys were recruited for systems and we had a staff that didn't know what system we were playing, kind of.
I mean, that's not verbatim, but that's basically what he said.
Yeah, it's paraphrasing.
And then it was good that he explained for people that don't understand why you can't just lose one guy and then add another. Because I still think that's a popular held belief.
Well, explain it to them, Bob.
That if you lose, six guys, then you can just add 6.
Right.
And that's not how it works when you have a max of 25 per year. It's hard to keep up to the 85 limit when you're having all these guys in the portal, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you can't lose more than you recruit every year, or eventually your numbers dwindle to 0.
Connecticut will be fun to watch because they had like 30 guys in the portal for this cycle.
I hope they just blow that program up. Randy Edsall must just be the biggest dickhead in the entire world.
Didn't work out well for him at Maryland.
I don't feel like it's worked out anywhere except for like pre-Fiesta Bowl.
First time.
Oh, you broke him in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, that might be it.
Him and Donald Brown. And that smelly-ass defensive tackle that Gabe always talks about.
I didn't know he does.
There was, I don't know, I don't remember who it was, but I guess it was like a defensive tackle, and he just like...
He stunk.
Gabe has always said that he like repeatedly told him during the game, like, bro, you smell like shit. Like, you are a smelly person.
I guess I'll have to ask him about that. I did not know that was a thing.
Pretty sure it was the UConn game.
So, yeah, but, I mean, it's pretty obvious, like, they're finally kind of comfortable, I guess, with what they're recruiting, what they're bringing in terms of recruiting to Alex Grinch's system, which will be great until he takes the Colorado job.
Right. No, I guess that what was it, Adam Rittenberg that put his name out there this morning. I would say there's less than a 5% chance that happens.
Well, there's no. I mean, there doesn't seem any doubt. If Eric Bieniemy wants that job, it's his.
Yeah, and I think that all indications are that. What was the word out of the Denver Post this morning? Both sides are very interested in each other, I think is how it was worded. Mm-hmm. I applaud Mel Tucker for being an asshole, though.
A rich asshole.
I think it's kind of a bad spot for him because I don't really know what, like as a coach, I don't know what you're supposed to do. That's such a bad situation. But
we all have convictions until someone puts a bunch of money in front of us.
But going,
I mean, I want to continue building Sooner Scoop until it's the biggest thing ever. But if somebody puts $50 million in front of me, I'll be okay. It's yours.
I mean,
sorry,
my
Bob,
God, I would hope.
Yeah,
I don't know if we get a cut of that as well. But
get $1. You have $1.
$1.50 for him to be out like doing alumni events.
I won't give you any money, but I will give you a maid for a year. How about that?
A maid for a year?
Yeah.
I hope I can have sex with her.
It's not a whore. No, it's a maid.
Well, I don't know. Probably not. See how much money 405 Mag will give me.
Okay. Like, I don't even know who these other people are. I've never heard of them. And I'm sure a lot of people look at that list and they go, who the F is Eddie Radosevich?
I think they've set up a division that I can win. And I think I applaud their efforts.
Have you looked into who the other people are?
No, I have no idea even how my name got involved in it. But I'm going to try and win it.
And aren't you in more than one category?
I don't know.
That's
I don't
what
think
I thought.
so.
Oh, no,
I think that was just for the nomination process. People were nominating my name for a lot of things.
But you are up for top influencer?
Yeah, in Oklahoma City. I hope I win. Go vote. 405mag.com.
Who are you influencing?
405, obviously.
Not the 572s.
The 572s. We can't.
Is there going to be a 572 mag? Is they going to split off and be like, if we split off and started a Dallas Renegade site?
If the 572s come out with a magazine, it'll be called a newspaper, and those are dying. So,
okay,
or a newsletter.
Way off track here.
I love my newspaper people, though.
So,
hey, the Mel Tucker thing is crazy for the fact that he was out doing alumni events the night before he announces he's leaving to go to East Lansing. Like, that's the kind of stuff.
I mean, he was all in. He was just like, okay, they came and they offered me this, but no, I'm not leaving Colorado. Like, I'm staying here. And then Michigan said, hold our beer. We're going to back up the Brinks truck and double your salary. That's how bad we want you. Because they were in a terrible spot. Like, if they didn't get Mel Tucker, maybe they are looking at Alex Grinch.
I don't know. That whole thing was weird, just with the way D'Antonio exited, just all of it.
And you heard the whole thing about he wanted to work another year, and
they like basically called his bluff and got a search team together, a search firm together, and
he's like, "Okay, I'm out."
At the basis of it, though, who cares about Michigan State football?
That's well, more than care about.
It's
Colorado
crazy
football.
It's crazy that they've played in a college football playoff.
Yes. Makes no sense.
I guess that just shows you how good of a deal he had up there.
It would be like, I mean, really though, them playing in it. You could have the same thing happen in the Big 12. Like you could have
Michigan State
Baylor
versus
or Oklahoma
Iowa.
State or something.
The winner went on.
Like if Oklahoma had a really good year, yeah, that's true. It was Iowa versus Michigan State, wasn't it? It wasn't like Michigan State beating a really good Ohio State team. Anyway,
what else?
So we did meet DeMarco Murray for the first time as a coach of Oklahoma and Jamar Cain yesterday.
You and I were with DeMarco. Bob was with Jamar Cain. Mm-hmm. So I really haven't. I know that we put up the breakdown session. We put up the press conference session from everything, but I really didn't dive into the Jamar Cain stuff quite yet. I haven't either. What was your first impression, Bob?
When Cain was at the podium with DeMarco and Lincoln, I thought he was very measured, and he wasn't sure if he was saying the right things.
In fact, Lincoln was sitting there next to him?
Right, exactly. In fact, he even asked Barry Trammell, did I answer that correctly?
Kind of looking at Lincoln.
Like, did I do good?
It was a tough question. It was basically, how could you come join this shithole of a defense?
Yeah.
But when you got him in the breakout session, you could see that there's sort of a dude that feels like he's earned the right to be here. The days at Cal Poly, the GA days at Ohio, the North Dakota State, where he would drive 6-7 hours to meet a kid for 20 minutes, then drive straight back, stay at the Motel 6 to get through a recruiting trip. You can tell it's like he appreciates the journey that's got him here, but he appreciates the fact that he's here, and he knows that he deserves to be in this spot. And now it's just getting familiar with the guys that are there, his room, and how it's going to work. Calvin Thibodeau, because we heard, obviously the first thing we heard is that his title wasn't what we first thought. He's going to be running defensive ends and outside backers, but it sounds like Tibbs will oversee the entire D line to go along with the tackles.
But his position will be the defensive tackles, yeah.
Right. So,
and I thought that would be the setup from the beginning. It didn't make any sense when you bring in a defensive line coach and just give him outside linebackers. And I'd said, surely they're going to change, responsibilities or something for those outside linebackers if that's his only position. But now that you hear he's going to coach both defensive ends and outside linebackers, it makes me think that it'll kind of just keep going like it's going. You still have a Guebu and Benito kind of
John
the
Michael
main guys.
Terry.
John Michael Terry when he comes back.
I mean, I just wonder if they're all going to meet in the same room. It's not that big of a deal if they do or if they don't. But I mean, that's a lot of guys, but they're kind of coaching the same spot, so it would make sense. But yeah, Cain in the breakout session made a much bigger impression, and part of it was not to say it was bad on us, but a lot of the questions were toward Murray during the podium. So you didn't really get a chance to let Cain kind of show who he is. And during that 12-minute breakout session, you got a much better feel of what this guy is, where he's been, and what he's looking to do.
I think a lot of people basically, they watch that breakout session, and it's pretty easy to see why he's starting to develop a name as a recruiter, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because he just has such a passion for it, because he's like, this is gravy now. This is so easy. I get to go on flights. I get to there's no limit on what hotel, how much a night. Like he said that, there's no limit.
No, I didn't know that. You guys, I mean, I don't know how your early days were like at the Oklahoman, Bob.
Days in, baby.
Eddie has never really had to experience the hard life road travel. But I used to have to stay in
to Northwest Oklahoma City. I don't stay in a Days Inn.
See, there's the attitude right there.
Days Inn, 49.
No, I used to
95.
I used to stay in Candlewood Suites with my cheap ass boss, but those were the high end. That was the way to avoid staying at Motel 6 or Days Inn, but it was still a shit. Paper thin comforters and rock hard mattresses.
Yeah,
and
he
stuff.
mentioned he would lock all the doors. He would sleep with the socks on because he didn't want to touch the floor. So, yep.
Yeah, I think I pointed out that there was literally.
That's kind of how the motel in Lubbock is across the street from the stadium. It's called Stadium Motel.
Yes,
stayed there the day before or the night before.
I'm surprised that hasn't been ripped down.
Oh, I
think it has.
I would
now.
imagine if it hasn't, it's probably because there's so many meth chemicals in the building that when they do, they're going to have to evacuate the entire city.
It's like Chernobyl, but
it
in Lubbock.
Is.
No, I think it's been torn down for apartments now.
It was an experience. I think it is because it was across the.
Yeah.
It's where the highway is now, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's that 7-Eleven right there. Yeah. That was a nasty.
It was a shithole
place. Yeah.
You could smoke inside. That's all you need to know.
But you were in college. Everybody did that in college.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
20 deep in a hotel room in Dallas.
Well, there's 3 of us, but it was still a shithole.
I always stayed at the Anatole.
Down in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always stayed at.
Because I had a rich friend.
I think I've tweeted about this before, but there will be a book written one day on the Adams mark in between 2000. I guess it'd be 2000. I mean, it was a couple years before I got to OU, but 2003-ish to 2011, 2012, maybe even 13, 14. It was every year we'd show up and you'd walk in and be like, I can't believe these people are letting us back in this place. It literally almost burned down last year. How are they letting people come back into this place?
Oh man. No. So no, I mean, yeah, but I would say what I took out and what I've seen so far is just very earnest guy. Just keep your nose. And the whole thing about playing for Kleiman at North Dakota State really seems like that shaped him as a coach more than anything.
Yeah, and that winning mentality for sure. Because he mentioned, like, if they were 13-2 at that school, it felt like they were 2-13, which is exactly mindset here. When they're 12-2, that's a failure. So he gets it. He understands it, and so I think he's coming Arizona State where they weren't that great, but he's got the mindset of someone who knows it's national championship or bust when you get to Norman.
Who do you think were the people that contacted Riley?
Right?
About
I had no
You think
clue.
Kleiman was a guy that would he call Lincoln, like even though they're in the same conference, to help somebody out like that? That was just my first thought, but I had no idea because I don't know. Maybe Herm Edwards. I really don't know. I don't think he would call Riley to want to lose him though.
Herm Edwards, didn't he make a really big hire to replace him? All of a sudden.
Well, they hired Marvin Lewis to be a co-defense coordinator.
Yeah, but he's a guy he has a Rolodex of coaches.
I'm sure.
In and out.
And I'm sure that there's.
I don't think he frets losing a guy.
No, not at all. And I think that it's probably also one of those situations that, there's so many young up and coming coaches that would kill to be able to say, yeah, I worked for Herm Edwards, that it's no problem for him.
Well, I think that was the thing about it is you got the impression talking to Lincoln, both those hires happened really quickly. Because remember, he went out on the road recruiting as soon as he got back. Or I think he may have taken a little vacation there, right it was over. And then he came back and visits started. And then the Bullware thing happened right after visits were picking up. The day of, yeah. And then, I'm trying to think, in the timeline, Ruffin was the next week?
Yes.
So, the DeMarco thing, it sounded like it was just DeMarco, and that's all they had to do. And
it almost doesn't it?
Yeah.
That was, especially when you think about the eyes that...
That's a pretty funny story.
Yeah, that was.
There was a lot of overlapping.
A funny story.
But it was okay.
And it just got more confusing to me about how it all went down, because it was odd because DeMarco did not seem to be happy with Cale Gundy that he showed that tweet to Lincoln.
He's a narc.
Yeah, kind of.
Basically sold him out.
Yeah, so what? It's Cale and Lincoln.
But Cale had to know how Lincoln would take that, and
yeah.
I'm sure. But DeMarco's you don't know he was going to take that as
sure.
Not to mention, I'm trying to play it cool here, man.
That's true
you're
too.
Blowing my cover.
Yeah, you're making them seem way
because remember
over
he said,
eager.
I don't know if you were standing there, but remember this, Eddie? I said about how hard it was leaving Kevin Sumlin since he gave a shot. And he said, well, I had a lot of other offers I could have taken too. He was OU wasn't the only place I could have gone.
Yeah, I wonder what the other offers were. Maybe Cowboys? You think Mike McCarthy rattled the...
I could see the NFL, with the things...
running backs coach or...
way things are going right now with the Rooney Rule. And that's why I think Bieniemy could stay in the NFL, because he is clearly the guy that is getting the most public push to be the next head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, he probably should be.
He
He probably should be a head coach by now.
Yeah.
You look across the NFL landscape,
and now they just won a
guys
Super Bowl.
Joe Judge are getting jobs.
Yeah, no kidding.
Eric Bieniemy's
look at that whole Giants
coach
staff.
circles around him.
Yeah.
And even in your interview with Sumlin, he said he imagines Murray will be at the next level.
Yeah. But that was the thing. I asked Lincoln about kind of his philosophy or approach to hiring people. I thought it was pretty interesting that he said basically he knows pretty soon after he interviews somebody or has a pretty good feel after he talks to someone if they're right for him. And clearly, whatever DeMarco said in the interviews, whatever Jamar Cain said in the interviews, it was exactly what Lincoln Riley wanted to hear.
Yeah, what'd he say, 10 minutes? Until he kind of thought these were the guys. It took him 10 minutes to talk to him or whatever.
Yeah. And we had that whole thing about, well, you could move Roy Manning and then put Chip Biney, but clearly, these are two guys that just were a step above making that kind of move. You see what the hires were, and you're like, okay, it makes sense that this is the way it's working out, that they didn't move Roy Manning.
I think I questioned the Murray one, but after hearing him talk yesterday, felt a lot more comfortable in terms of what he's looking to do, and that like he's not just in it for a paycheck, or like he's going to go through the grind. It seems like he's going to embrace that part of the job, and how he talked about how he's got to be the best at everything he does, and that's where he's going to try to learn from here.
By the way, I want to get more into DeMarco Murray and what we talked about with him yesterday. I want to remind you guys, though, that the Unofficial 40 podcast, our title sponsor, MidFirst Bank, wants you guys to go to midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. Why do I want you to go there? Because you can apply now for the OU Rewards credit card. A lot of great deals that you get by being a member of the MidFirst Bank OU Rewards credit card. And you can register for all kinds of cashback gift cards, merchandise, travel, or you can redeem cashback gift cards, merchandise, travel. Also, they're giving away a Bluetooth speaker if you register at participating locations around the metro. And there's going to be even more coming that we're going to be talking about soon with midfirst.com and the OU Rewards credit card. But you know what? It's the personalized OU card. They're the exclusive provider of the OU credit card. So go to midfirst.com/U40 and sign up for that today. All right. So DeMarco Murray, as Eddie said, we both kind of had a chance to do the walk-off with him a little bit and really kind of get into things. And I think, I kind of thought it was silly, but I guess there's some, it's a legitimate question, I guess, when you've been an all-pro player and you come back to coaching. Like, a lot of times when people do that, it's because, they've been out of the game, or, maybe they just need to make a living, or they've run through money. Like, that's clearly not the case with DeMarco. And he said it like, I've got all the money I need. I'm not doing this for the money. But I don't know, Eddie, I really got the impression, and Bob, you can comment on this too, but I got the impression that he really is all in as a coach. Like, this is not that he thinks he's got it figured out, but this, to me, clearly seems like what he wants to do, and he's totally committed to it.
Yeah, I think that you just spend, 10 minutes or 15 minutes with the guy, and you can tell that he has somewhat of a passion for it. Obviously, he has a passion for the game of football. He wants to be around it. He could sit up in a broadcasting booth and be around the game as much as he wants and be out at practice and all that kind of other
beautiful
stuff.
Suits.
Yeah, and probably make just as much money doing that, working 2-3 days a week, than he is now. But at the same time, I think that he wants to be a part of it. It's a little strange in a way that, Garen Emig mentioned it to him yesterday. He was on the last team that played for a national title for Oklahoma. I mean, as successful as they've been over the last 12 years since he's been gone, it's crazy that they haven't played for a national championship during that time.
I have to look at it, but it has to be the best stretch of football in Oklahoma history that did not win a national championship.
Without even a national championship appearance.
Yeah.
So I do think that, it's important to him. And, I think with a lot of those guys, they like winning. They obviously care about the university. I don't think that this is going to be a thing that he just, I'm kind of a coach on the side.
Right.
This is a thing that he's going to be tackling and, have a little bit of a sense of pride in what they're doing. I don't think the last thing that DeMarco wants to do, and just kind of, knowing people that know DeMarco, is the last thing he wants to do is come here and them not be good and him look bad in doing all this. So, I'm very interested to see how it translates into the recruiting world. And, I think that it's not ironic and it's not a coincidence that he comes in and there's a strong presence in Texas already.
I think the thing about it that's striking to people that had covered DeMarco, since he was a freshman.
That's what I want to ask you.
Is like he had always had like this, and Eddie, you were in college, you probably hung out with him, being buddies with Sam. Mm-hmm. He just had that, smooth Mr. Cool persona about him.
He was the first, and AD obviously was before him, but he was kind of that first. I guess in a way, and it's kind of weird to say, but he was like that first guy that I knew or met that was like, holy shit, that's DeMarco Murray from Las Vegas, from Bishop Gorman.
Yeah,
like,
the fact that he was from Las Vegas.
This is like a 5-star guy. He picked OU at U.S. Army game. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah,
this guy's a big motherfucking deal.
And he carried himself in a certain way that was just like,
I wouldn't say
he's
I wouldn't say arrogant, but DeMarco has always just kind of been like that. He's DeMarco. Like
kind of like regal, like royalty almost.
Yeah. I mean, he's a badass. He was a badass football player. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, I was covering high school softball and Blazers hockey during DeMarco Murray's day, so I wanted to ask you, did he feel different yesterday?
Yes. Yeah, he did. And
he's great. I mean, he's matured, but I think everybody's matured out of the 21, 22-year-old kind of shithead.
I mean, he's 32 years old now. I think yesterday was his birthday. I don't even think we told him happy birthday.
Yesterday was his birthday, and we didn't even wish him happy birthday?
I think that's right, yeah.
This program's so screwed right now.
Yeah, he turned 32. Or maybe it was before yet, but it was recently.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Wow.
I was thinking about I talked to him off to the side. And I didn't even say happy birthday. I'm a puss.
He probably thinks we are assholes. Should I send him should we wish him? Should we sing him happy birthday?
If you feel the spirit moves you.
Should I film it?
No. Okay. Stop influencing people. All right.
That's
doing the podcast.
That's just influence. I got it all. I got it on my mind all the time.
You've been corrupted by
DeMarco.
4 magazine.
We are sorry.
Yeah, he turned 32 yesterday, and I think some people even wrote a story saying it was 31.
31.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
So, you would have had to look up the birthday. I guess they didn't, though. Maybe they just looked at a former news release or something.
Yeah, from a couple weeks ago, you would have thought you're good.
Yeah. So
I wonder if he's thinking about leaving OU now.
But no, that was what I was getting at. He was always seen as this, ultra smooth, Mr. Cool guy. Totally had everything under control. Didn't crack under pressure. You couldn't make the guy crack. It didn't seem. But yesterday, you actually saw a guy. Not that he's been humbled or anything, but just a guy that actually, for the first time in my life since talking to him, really kind of you related to a little bit. You saw okay, this is a guy that he's trying to do something that he's passionate about, and he's kind of being vulnerable a little bit. He's telling us this is what he wants to do, and he knows there are questions about his ability to do it, but he believes in himself and believes that he can do this. So it was a very different side of DeMar. And like you said, he's 32 years old. He was 18, 19, 20. And that's the other thing about DeMarco. You will never find a player that comes in as a 5-star from high school that won red shirts and then stays for 4 years after that. That's never happened. He was at OU for 5 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, I would have to think if he had to do it all over again, he probably leaves early. Probably leaves that. Hell, they might all leave early if they knew what was to come in that 2009 season.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that was Gresham, Sam.
Should have known. Should have known when you open your season against Mormons, that's what's going to happen.
Didn't Brody Eldridge break his neck in that game, too? In that BYU game, or was it later on?
I think it was later on in the season.
Hayburn broke his neck at some point.
Maybe that's what it was.
Football.
Well, because that's when Brody moved to center, right?
Yes. But Brody had some horrible
11 years ago. It's sad.
It's 2009 is so etched in my mind. That first game at Jerry World, even Trent Williams was missing blocks. Sam just got annihilated. And if you remember, Andre Ware predicted BYU would win that game.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed at him.
Predicted the 8-4 season.
And they brought in all-pro punter
Tress
Way to try and kick that field goal at the end of the game. It was 54 yards long. That would have won it.
And then 4 years of Landry started.
He's the Renegades problem now. Actually, not yet.
Just announced, Landry Jones will start for the XFL Renegades.
Savior.
The season has officially begun.
Was it L.A. that fired their defensive coordinator?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Pepper Johnson.
Yep.
Did he quit or did he get fired?
He got fired. That P.J. Walker guy from Temple lit them up.
They probably knew it was about to come. What was about to happen on Sunday?
They played Seattle. Was it L.A. versus Seattle?
I don't remember. I didn't watch outside of the Dallas game. I didn't watch too much.
What did you think of the
XFL.
XFL?
I liked it.
From what you saw, I mean, it's a pretty boring game because Dallas's quarterback was awful.
I think it's a lot like every other league that has tried to start. Like, cool. Football during the spring.
I don't think the Dallas Renegades quarterback could have beaten out anyone that was a starter.
He was bad.
Extended starter in Bob Stoops' tenure at Oklahoma.
He was bad, and you know what?
Like maybe Paul Thompson, maybe Trevor Knight, but that's it. That's the only argument you can make.
He sucked.
And Cody Thomas doesn't count. He wasn't a full-time.
He was a baseball player.
He wouldn't have been a starter if people weren't hurt. But yes, he was probably better than Cody Thomas. And that's all I can give you.
It'll just be about the level of play. It's cool what they're doing with the rules and the access and things of that nature, but if the play sucks,
I will say this. I think the extra point thing is cool, but nobody converts the extra points.
Yeah.
Jordan Smallwood converted one.
I think the kickoff thing is cool.
Yeah. But I think the sideline access and the interviews and the replay and the offensive coordinators hearing their calls, I think the NFL will adopt all that stuff. And I would say this, I think college adopts that kickoff before the NFL does.
I don't know. College will probably do it in like 2032 and then claim that it was their idea.
After they've not paid the players since.
Yeah, after Mark Emmert continues to make an idiot of himself.
I could not believe Bob Bowlesby was on that panel. You should see Eddie's face right now.
It blows my mind that people still think that Bob Bowlesby is like a smart person.
Because he was the Stanford athletic director. But he's also the guy that screwed up Bob Stoops to Iowa.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, that should have been hint number one. I'm not saying that everybody thought Bob was going to be just incredible in 1998, but at the same time, it's like
they dragged their feet.
When was the last time Bob Bowlesby had an idea and somebody was like, you know what, that's a really good idea?
Eddie, we think esports are an excellent avenue for student athletes.
That just triggered
esports, Eddie. Esports.
That triggered Eddie. Flashbacks.
No, it's not flashbacks. I'd never listened to anything he says, so that was an introduction to something I didn't even know about. It's just weird.
I just like his address at the Big 12 every year because I know, like, if you can just stay awake
Everybody's
long enough.
making fun of him.
If you can just stay awake long enough to listen to him and actually parse out the things that he's saying so you can give them to the world, it's always gold. Because it's just like stuff that you just read and you're like, what is he doing? How is he saying these things? He gets away with it because he puts everyone to sleep and nobody pays attention to him.
Maybe everybody's
but he consistently says dumb things.
He's just kind of the worst.
I mean, everybody was replaying that Senators thing, but they cut it off as soon as Bob Bowlesby started talking because he didn't say anything.
Nobody wanted to hear his ass.
He didn't say anything. He just double talked about ESPN Plus.
I think all those people are idiots.
Yeah.
The senators, the people in charge.
I'm wearing my WVU colors today.
Bunch of suits.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, introductions yesterday. Now it is, and I think the one last thing on DeMarco. I think the one thing that even he kind of seemed to be curious about was what type of impact he has on recruiting. Because I think he's one of those guys, like, he can't really see how people view him, like how revered he is. Like, that's just something for a person. Like, you don't know. You don't want to know. You don't spend time thinking about that. So I'm curious, like, when he was being asked, like, how do you think your career will help out in recruiting? Like, he has no idea. Mm-hmm. He's curious to know if it's going to be, something that's really going to help them. But I don't think it can hurt.
No.
Can't hurt.
I would say that he's going to need to have some type of success here early, don't you think?
You have to.
Because people
Get Kamar
will,
Wheaton, you mean? And that basically
or
is what
do
everybody's
something
expecting.
because
LJ Johnson, Henderson.
Yeah.
You got to get one of them because you're losing way too many backs. You got to hit it big.
I'll be interested to see kind of
Or
how
you tear down the program if you don't.
I'll be interested to see how he coaches Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
With his style that he throws out there sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. Like, will DeMarco want him to be more deliberate as a runner? Or will he be like, well, that works for Le'Veon Bell. Let's let you do it. I mean, there's going to have to be some, like with him, there is some middle ground even that I thought Jay Boulware needed to find. Because, and if you have a great offensive line, you can get away with that stuff, and you know they're going to hold blocks or at least develop holes. But I don't know that he has that type of offensive line yet. But I'll say this.
It's going to be
he
interesting.
was really good last year before he got hurt. Like,
Sermon?
you go back.
He was great.
Like, I was going and logging your video this year, and I was, with the Sermon highlights, I was like, holy shit, I forgot how good Trey Sermon was before he got
was
hurt.
really good. And, I remember going all the way back to even the Houston and South Dakota State games. It was like, this guy is, he talked about it, and he's reinvented his body. He literally had it at some points.
Yeah.
So, I guess it'll be a little bit of a question mark about how he returns from injury, how he gets back out on the field. But can you get anything out of a TJ Pledger? What is?
Yeah, I think that's the. And DeMarco
Right.
talked about that yesterday about the type of running back he was, and that he wants to cultivate running backs that can catch the ball, and that blocking is like Cale was always on his ass about blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why Chris Brown would play a little bit more than DeMarco at times, because I think Chris Brown was a better blocker in max protect situations than DeMarco was. But DeMarco, he was always on his ass about that, and he became a better blocker. So that, I mean, he said that yesterday. That's going to be something that is important to him with these running backs when he's coaching them. So I mean, he really is just going to be kind of an extension of what Cale was, as to him as a coach.
I would say that's probably, if you're looking for somebody to, he's obvious. Cale is obviously a mentor for DeMarco.
Yeah.
So I would think that he has a lot of connections back to, coaching characteristics, I guess, that go back to basically what Cale is.
What was it? He gave the list of people he called in order.
The number one was surprising. Jason Witten.
Yeah, that was
Jason
surprising.
Witten, Bob Stoops,
and then Bob
Cale.
Stoops. Cale was the fourth, I think.
Third.
He said
He was the third guy because it's Cale and then Bob and
maybe he said
Witten,
he called
then
someone
Bob,
before he
then
called Cale or something.
One of the two. I definitely think that a lot of people, the rumors are out there, just as as recent as a couple of months ago that if Witten wanted to hang it up again, he could be a coach anywhere from day one.
It'd be better than being in the booth for him.
It'd be better than being on the field.
Yeah, he was not good this year. Yeah.
Blake Jarwin's their best tight end.
He'll be better when Tom Brady's their quarterback next year.
I hope that happens.
And Dak Prescott, they're going to franchise Dak Prescott.
We'll see.
And he's going to fight it. Dallas basically will not have a quarterback next year. They'll be paying a guy that's holding out. That's their quarterback next year. So anyway, any other? I mean, recruiting wise,
it's just such a weird time right now, isn't it,
going
Bob?
out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess Kobie McKenzie. That's kind of interesting.
Yes,
that's come out.
yes, indeed. 2022 linebacker commit announces yesterday. Maybe jumping the gun a little bit because I think you still got to make sure things will work out. But he wants to reclassify to the 2021 class. And you
he
look
is
at
the
him,
linebacker commitment from Lubbock.
Yep, and you look at him
Physically,
he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
A lot of work is going to have to be done. We had his father once again post on the message board that this is something they think they want to do and they want to pursue, but they'll find out in the long run whether or not they can actually do it. And if they have to play during the 2021 season in high school, then that's what they'll do. But the plan is to try to get him to be a 2021 kid.
And that, to me, I mean, that's a kind of a, I don't know, it's a slippery slope because he does look I mean, he could physically, he could be in a college program right now. But it's that mental side of it. Like, if it doesn't work and you come in and college could break you. I mean, the coaching could break you. I mean, like, if you're not, mentally ready and
It's a risk.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're not mature enough to handle some things, it could break bad.
You see it a lot in basketball, but I wouldn't say it's as physical as football is. When you're trying to move a year up for football, that sounds kind of nuts. Because you usually hear it the other way, trying to push a kid back so that they'll be as developed as they possibly can be when they get to their class.
Outside of that, some interesting quarterback talk this week as well.
Yeah, Caleb Williams, who we all believe is the number one target for OU for the 2021 class, now the number one ranked quarterback by Rivals, number 3 overall in their Rivals 100, and there's just so much
Take that,
momentum.
Brock.
There's just so much momentum right now for Caleb to end up being a Sooner. Scott Linehan was hired by LSU, and everything we've heard is that didn't move the needle. I think that was the one thing we all had to sort of find out is whether or not the Tigers' hire was going to be enough to get Caleb back in the fold, and it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case.
You know, we've talked about it a little bit just as far as LSU and, you know, kind of their, I guess, repositioning of the program, basically in every facet. If I was an LSU fan, and I'm sure they're still on a national championship high, but I would not be excited about Scott Linehan.
No, he's a name that's bounced around a lot. I mean, he's kind of like, who was it, Cam Cameron that they had for a little bit?
Mm-hmm. He's not Joe Brady, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Joe Brady is young. You know, he's a guy that they plucked out of the NFL that didn't have really a spot because other people were ahead of him. Scott Linehan's a guy that everybody knows. He's been around forever. He's not reinventing football.
No. What do you think a timeline would be, Bob? Do you have any idea, like any type of guesstimate?
You know, Caleb's been consistent, even in little direct messages and stuff, just saying he wants to visit in the spring. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the crown jewel of spring game weekend. If they can guarantee Caleb.
This would be his second trip to Norman?
Yes, he made an unofficial the week before OU's second camp that you guys covered with Brock. So that overshadowed everything.
I jinxed him, is what you're saying. I jinxed that.
What it did is it overshadowed the fact that a 5-star kid from Washington, D.C. was even coming in because we were all ready for Brock to come in and basically commit. We sort of knew, well, if he's going to this camp and he likes it, there's a chance that this could happen. And Caleb Williams had to accept that fact. He was the second fiddle. He was the second choice. And it doesn't sound like he's, has sour grapes about it or anything of that nature. And if he's all in, you got to believe Shane Beamer, Lincoln Riley are going to do everything they can during the next couple months to try to get him to Norman for the spring.
It'll make it even more special in December when they sign him or when he commits and then he signs and then Lincoln can stand up there and say, we got our guy. Just like he did for Chandler Morris.
Okay, yeah, that was...
I do agree Chandler Morris was the second choice, but Bryce Young was the first.
Yes.
You can't convince us otherwise.
That's signing day stuff right there. I mean, that's signing day 101.
But he did know Bryce Young going back like 2 summers ago. So from that point on, I do believe that Chandler Morris was the only guy he was looking for.
I could probably agree with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just kind of, it wasn't.
It might have been like
really.
Bryce. It might have been like Bryce 1A, Bryce 1B,
Well,
then Chandler Morris 1C.
Well, here, my thing was, I think once they realized Bryce wasn't going to come because Spencer Rattler was there, because I still believe that's the number one reason, that's never going to change. You're never going to change it. You know, that's not altering in the year of recruiting. It's not like, oh, now Spencer's still there, but I don't care. I don't think that ever
It's almost
came
like,
up.
if in his mind, I think what he was saying was, we knew we weren't getting the 5-star, and this was the guy that I knew we could get that was number one.
And like we always have said, it was going to be an awkward year no matter what.
Yeah, and you can look at the offer sheet. I mean, Chandler was one of the few offers, and it wasn't after his dad got fired at Arkansas. It was well before that. So there's some truth there, but yeah, we all agree Bryce Young was the first guy, and once that was never going to happen, no matter what you were trying to do, then Morris became the second target, and all the dad going Auburn, just a smoke screen to what was really going on.
God, there was something else I was going to bring up. I shouldn't even said that because it's fallen out of my head.
Eddie, you're going to Florida. Watch Mario Williams.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you're going, or
No, I am
allegedly
going.
he's going to be there?
No,
Because
I
I've already
am
paid
going.
for the
I am
trip.
going. I am
Okay.
going. I am going. Saturday morning. Sunday morning, we'll have live coverage.
Oh, yeah. We'll be doing it up live on the backpack cam.
If Mario is there, he is right on the cusp. There's 14 5-star kids. He's number 16 at the moment, so he's right there.
Rivals Camp Series is what we're talking about in case.
There's been a lot of viral Rivals Camp videos out there recently. One, the receiver kid, and then the offensive lineman that's getting all the attention for the wrong
They're
reasons.
just ridiculous.
Yeah. And it wasn't Rivals that did it. It's like cheering on a guy that
I just don't know
throws
why stuff
someone
like
to
that
the
is
ground.
celebrated, but
It's because people don't know what they're doing. Anyway, so hoops last night, Iowa State.
Boring as it should be.
It was in the second half. In the first half, I was wondering what the hell was wrong with that team. It never fails. Anytime it's announced that the star player is out, there's a letdown from the other team.
For sure. There's no. I know Christian Doolittle tried to act like there wasn't, but you add in that and the lack of a big time crowd. You had to create your own energy to try to get going on that type of night, and it took them a while. But once they got it going, it was exactly the type of game that we thought it would be, the type of game that it needed to be as you head into the two biggest games of the season.
not often that you got back-to-back games against two of the top 3 teams in the country, right?
They're playing with house money, right? I mean, no one expects them to win Saturday at Kansas or to beat Baylor on a Tuesday, despite how well they played them in Waco. I mean, so they
Baylor gives you an opportunity,
free,
though.
yes.
I mean, Baylor they're not a team that really just blows people. I mean, they play
right.
good
they haven't
defense,
been playing just crazy good.
but they make all the plays down the stretch when it matters.
Sure, and they've been playing. I guess you could argue they've been playing the bottom half of the Big 12 as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Kansas State's
but I mean, they went on the road and won in Kansas. I mean, the thing about them is they're kind of the same team at
OSU
home as they
was in
are
that.
on the road.
Yeah.
They play the same type of game. They don't blow people out at home and then just eke by on the road. Like, they took it to Tech in Lubbock too. I mean,
I think
that's
OU,
why you
I think
can't
OU
really.
I think OU beat Baylor on Tuesday.
If Baylor showed any kind of weakness on the road, I'd be right there with you, but they haven't.
It just seems like it's a good spot for OU to win. I mean, if they beat West Virginia on Saturday, which they probably should, the game's in Waco, they'll be on a 23-game winning streak going into or 22-game winning streak going into the game on Tuesday night. It just seems like that's a great spot for a college team to lose.
Do you think last night was an aberration, or do you think it's just impossible to get people interested in OU basketball?
It was just that one game that stood out as nothing. There's nothing to entice people. There's nothing you could have done
8 o'clock start.
to get
8
people
o'clock
there.
start against one of the worst teams in the league.
That doesn't have the
it is what it
only good. Their only good player, the one that's actually going to make it to the next level, and he breaks his wrist the game before.
I don't think that it's a situation either that, like, I had so many bullshit excuses given last night on Twitter.
There were. Whew,
like, somebody
so many.
told me, somebody had the audacity to tell me, I didn't know they played tonight. Sir, it's 2020. Like, how do you not know they... Like, I'm guessing if you didn't know that they had a game, you weren't going to ever go. Like, go back to the biz.
I know what restaurants will bring me food. I can figure out a game time.
Just Google it.
But yeah, I mean, they've got 3 home games left, although Tech will be at the peak. But you know the crowd for Baylor's going to be great. The crowd for Texas is going to be great. This was just that one game that stands out. Plus, it was on ESPN2 instead of Plus, so you got seen by everybody. It just was a bad look.
Do we all just remember college basketball like with, beer goggles from when we were kids? Like, does everybody, when they were a kid, do they remember OU basketball just being so awesome and so different?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, to sit here and say that the Thunder don't have some type of impact on that in the way that we view basketball as spectators, that's all. It'd be ignorant to say that. Like, I
mean, this time of year before the Thunder, you would live your life like it was the road to Kansas City. Road to what was the arena? Kemper.
Oh yeah.
Like, and that was a big deal, and like it was like, because all you had was like 89ers and OU football, and in between you had Big 12 or Big 8 basketball. But you also had Billy Tubbs. You had Kelvin Sampson. I mean, you had Lon Kruger's right there in terms of coaching, legacy.
I think it's also a part of it is, this is going to be very old. I know. I'm owning it. AAU basketball has killed college basketball.
Just the stink that it leaves on.
That, and I just think that the players from a fundamental aspect are terrible. How many... What was it? Saturday, West Virginia missed 22 shots within 2 feet of the basket.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
is that just teams not practicing?
I do kind of appreciate the defense that's played in this league.
I think there's good defense, but I think it's probably... Is it bad to say it's worse offense than great defense? Now, you talk about Kansas, you talk about Baylor. West Virginia plays really good defense.
I mean, that West Virginia game, their offense was ugly, but OU kept turning the ball over every 2 trips down the floor. I mean, it was
they should have won by 15,
awful.
16 points.
But that's what happens when you play West Virginia. As long as Bob Huggins is there, that's what West Virginia... If you're not turning it over in the half court, you're going to be turning it over when they press you in the full court.
I mean, that West Virginia team cannot score. You watched the last 10 minutes of that Kansas game last night. They literally cannot score. They have trouble putting the ball... How can a team like Texas with as many All-Americans, high school All-Americans as they have...
I don't know.
How does a basketball team...
suck
and just have no ability to put the ball in the basket? It's almost like, I was talking to somebody up at the radio station about this. It's almost like they don't practice offense. They just stand there and everybody sees it. How does that happen? I don't get it.
What I will say, OU's just played their best 2 games in a back-to-back stretch.
Yeah.
We're going to know what the ceiling of this team is because they won't play any better than what they have. Against Kansas, Baylor, we'll find out if they deserve to be in the tournament or if they deserve to be in NIT team. And if they have a game at Lloyd Noble, what do you think the attendance would be for that?
Do you? I mean, I know you're
for what?
An NIT game.
Oh my God!
I don't know. You have to tell me because I won't be there.
Nobody's interested.
I'm not covering NIT games.
Nobody's got time
I
for
will
that.
Be there, but.
Yeah. Here's that. Okay, so they go to Kansas.
You're calling the upset?
No. I'm just trying to think on this roster. There's only really 2 guys that you can point to, Manick and Doolittle.
Yep.
Have either of those ever had a big game in Lawrence?
I want to say Christian played well.
I'm going to say Manick has not because I seem to remember Manick pretty much just wilting every chance he's gotten.
Well, until this year,
Fog Allen.
Brady hadn't really had any just memorable road games, if I remember correctly.
He would be great at home and then fade on the road.
Yeah.
So,
it's going to be tough. I mean, Kansas, obviously, they're OU's biggest issue with Kansas. They don't have an answer for Doak inside. If he doesn't get into foul trouble, you're not going to be able to stop him. And you're going to have to knock down shots. And they did get some good play out of Jamal. Jamal Bieniemy offensively seems like he's starting to come around.
A little bit, yes.
The guy that has been really good over the last probably month is Alondas Williams.
Yeah,
for sure. He's
just athletically, he's superior to most people on the floor.
Last night was a game where he could do just that. But as he's played better, he's made a lot better in terms of his passing, and that's opened things up. And, hopefully get a chance to talk with him today. David, it seems that with Harmon, he's having trouble adjusting to this starter bench. I wonder if Williams is having any issues too, but it seems for Harmon, it's tough for him to get into a groove. And
Harmon's at least kind of starting to settle into some shots, though. He's not taking ridiculous. He's actually not making much, but
his first 2 threes last night were pretty nuts.
I just like seeing him and Bieniemy actually starting to be more aggressive and taking shots.
Jamal for sure, because he's someone that can make them, especially when he gets going. But what you love about him is that even when he wasn't scoring, it never affected the rest of his game. And if he brings the scoring with him, gives you a 4th option to go with Reeves, Dew, and Manick. That's a team. That's a legitimate tournament team that can make some noise.
What's funny is I don't know if it's funny, but the whole De'Vion Harmon thing, he's a guy that is obviously not short on confidence. I think anybody that's talked to him knows that. He said some stuff on
Monday
that was
Interesting.
It basically just said that he hates coming off the bench, or he doesn't hate coming off the bench. He hates the flip-flopping, basically, of one day in the lineup,
bench,
one day
starter.
coming off the bench. And I'll say this. He says a lot of things that you don't ever hear from a college basketball player, and he's saying it as a freshman.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. And to his credit, you can't tell on the court.
Nope.
He's handled it very, I guess, professionally is the way that is the best way to describe it. It just, if things were going the opposite direction though, and say they were 8-16 or something, I think that's when it starts becoming a problem. You can get away with it when it's right down. The other thing with this team is the way that Iowa State and Kansas State have played here as of late is just even more shocking that they went up there and got beat. It's just say they go 1-1. I think OU's probably ranked right now, or at least knocking on the door.
Yeah, close to it. I mean,
16-7.
They would be. They're what are they? They're 6-5 in the conference and 16-8 right now. So they'd be 17-7.
Yeah.
Or 18-6 if you win both of those games. Yeah. If you're 18-6 and 7-4 in the conference, no, they'd be 8-3. They definitely would be.
No, because they're 6-5 right now. So one more win, he's 7.
Well, if you won both of them,
I see.
You would be ranked.
And
you'd probably be bumping in the 6 range.
I mean, you look at the schedule. You say worst case 19-12, but you can't slip up. OSU, TCU got to win those road games. Hold court against Texas at home, and then you get any of West Virginia, Baylor, Tech, or Kansas. That's another huge win. Put on your resume. You're 19-12 at least heading into the tournament, and with this, I don't know, just how uneven the entire nation is. 19-12, that might be enough.
What's crazy is like the Big 12. Yeah, it's probably capped at 5 right now.
Yep.
But like you look at the ACC, they're gonna have like 3 teams. Who is it? Like is it the Big East that's gonna have like 3 or no? The
Big East is loaded.
Or is it the Big 10 that's gonna have like 3?
No, Big 10's got like 12.
Yeah, it's crazy, and then you have a
major.
Then you have a conference like the ACC that I think right now only has 4, right?
No, 3.
Or 3?
ACC's 3, yeah.
Okay. But there's
Maybe
also
it's the Pac-12 that only has.
When you
3.
have schools like Dayton, it's really good. San Diego State.
State's undefeated.
I know, and they're really good.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's a. I think they could win a national championship. I'm not going to sit here and go down their lineup, but I think that they're good enough.
Michael Cage is probably their bag man.
Be the first time he's useful.
Oh my God. All right.
Do we want to do a baseball preview, Eddie?
I mean, they open the season tomorrow in Pensacola, 3-game series against Virginia. They, from a defensive and from a pitching standpoint, they might have one of the best rotations in the country this year. Cade Cavalli, obviously, he's a guy that, you look at 2020 MLB draft projections, and I know it's February, so still got a couple months to go. But at the same time, you only do have, 5 months until the draft, till June. So he's a guy that I think, if things went according to plan right now, he would be a top 15 selection in the 2020 draft.
It's got major league hair.
Skip thinks he's that good, and he's cutting the rest of the team's hair. So
is he going to cut your hair?
He could if he wants. I just don't know if I could walk around with that baseball haircut, like the shaved sides.
Mm-hmm. A lot of product involved in that haircut.
Is there?
Yeah.
I could see that.
You'll be having bottles and bottles of Redken sitting around in your house.
I don't know if I want that. Tyler Hardman returns from the Cape, though. He had a really big summer. Brandon Zaragoza and Connor McKenna in the middle played a lot of games together. It seems like Brandon Zaragoza is getting ready to enter his 19th year in Norman. Kendall Pettis is a guy that they think, just up and down the roster, you look at this freshman group specifically, and OU's recruiting extremely well in baseball right now. Extremely well. I don't think that it can be said enough how well they are recruiting. Like the projection and the future of the program between them and Oklahoma State with all those major leaguers up there with Matt Holliday and Robin Ventura helping them out. it could be a fun summer here in Oklahoma with college baseball. And I think that, what is this team going to do? I think anywhere that you look has them third or fourth in the conference behind Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. I think that the baseline for this program is what it should always be, and is hosting a regional. Like I think if you host a regional, that's probably a pretty successful year.
Twitter fires Lon Kruger every single game. Is Skip Johnson in any sort of trouble if they don't bring it?
No, I don't think so. It's not because Josie doesn't care about the other sports. I do think that they have a chance to be pretty damn good this year, and I'm not going to say it would take a disaster for them not to be, but they have so much pitching. Even when you look at the JUCO guys that they've added, the Sam Houston State transfer that's going to kind of be a bridge to Jason Ruffcorn, who's one of the best closers in the country. So, offensively, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to hit 200 home runs this year, because they're probably not, especially when you play in Eldale Mitchell when, half the season is playing into a north wind.
You have 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, but they should be pretty good, and I think they should be good enough to manufacture runs. If you remember last year, getting runners on base wasn't their problem. They got plenty of runners on base. It was stranding all those guys. So they need some growth out of guys that played last year to be able to get those guys in. And obviously, Briley Ware's not in Norman. You looking at their schedule, Carey?
I'm looking at the weather in relation to their schedule.
Oh, it's going to be awful. It always is. During baseball season, it always is. This Tiger drains about a 35-foot putt on the first hole. So we're off to a good start at Riviera.
I am still considering
OU baseball's schedule this year, though, hard AF. Opening with Virginia. They go down to play at the Cheater Stadium down in Houston with a 3-game set. What is that? What's the lineup there down in Houston? Arkansas, go up a little bit. Arkansas, Missouri,
and
LSU. I mean, that is... It's definitely a who's who, and not to mention they play 6 games in 4 days next week when they return to Norman after the 3-gamer in Pensacola.
Yeah, actually, what sucks is
that's about as much OU baseball as you're going to get anywhere. Okay,
the day
folks?
before the first game, it's going to be 72 and sunny.
Yeah, and then tell me what it's going to be on Tuesday.
Then Tuesday it's going to be 51 and mostly cloudy, and then Wednesday it goes on the 19th. It goes down to 42, but it will that homestand. It actually is going to get back up into the 50s and 60s by the next weekend, so when they're down in Houston. But, no, I'm still considering building a batting cage in the backyard so we can work on your swing.
I think I've retired from baseball. If I get back into baseball, I think I'm going to be on the bump. I'm going to be a pitcher.
No. We have to fix your swing first. I
want to play in the National League, or I want to play in the American League. I don't want to hit anymore.
With you in that batting cage to where you don't embarrass yourself.
I'm making a full commitment to the game of golf. Buying clubs or new clubs.
How old are your old clubs?
Man, they're pretty old. I'd say more than 10 years.
Okay.
It's about that time.
Who is the king of the clubs right now? What are the hottest irons out there?
I mean, it probably depends on how much money you want to spend. I don't know, though. I mean, I think
still big?
I don't think Ping's as big. I think PXG is more the new kind of new wave. That's one thing that I really, as much as I love golf, I'm not the big equipment guy. So I like I have a couple buddies that's like, oh, is that
they got to get like new clubs every couple of years.
That's the R7755. It's like, all right, well, cool.
Yeah, where you got to change the weights.
Probably why I poke it out there 250 and you're hitting it 320. It is what it is. It's a drinking sport. But I'm probably going to win the Oklahoma Amateur, so.
All right.
No big deal.
After seeing your batting swing, I really question that proclamation.
The golf swing's a little bit different than the baseball swing.
Yeah, but you should
noticed.
be able to hit a baseball when you swing.
Oh, they were throwing. You should have seen the junk they were throwing me.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the MidFirst Bank Unofficial 40 podcast. Sorry that Josh was not around. We need to check on him, see if he's been arrested for stalking.
Let him back in.
Yeah, Linda, if he's He's mended fences with Linda and not put her on the other side of a fence.
El Sario. We are sorry.
Lo siento.
We are sorry. El Sario.
It's not
I'm sorry.
You really didn't take Spanish in high school or anything, did you? Did they not have a foreign language requirement when you were in college?
No, that's the sad thing. I did. I've told you my story about Spanish in
parents
college.
dying?
No, they were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Which they were not. But I had some crazy Spanish teachers in public school.
All right. I can barely speak Spanish, but I know it's Lo Siento. All right. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Eddie. Thanks to Bob. And we'll be back next week, hopefully on a regular schedule on Wednesday. But it's worked out to where we had these things on Thursday the last 2 weeks because certain media events and things like that. So thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week right back here on the MidFirst Bank MidFirst Bank Unofficial 40.
You got this.
From Soonerscoop.com.